Welcome to episode 51 of Lost Signals. My name's Daryl, and I am joined today by a very special guest, Juno Award-winning guitarist from the extreme technical death metal, Archspire.
I don't know if this is a video interview, but my face is very red right now.
It is.
I'm so flushed. Yes, that is me.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes. So, how's it going today? You said you're a little jet lagged from the your last tour.
Yeah, we just got back 2 days ago. So flew back from where we fly back from Paris. We were in Europe for about 3.5 weeks. Our guitar player Toby got married right at the beginning of the tour, so we went to this little town called La Rochelle in France, and we were there for about 5 days. And then from there, we started a tour where we did 7 or 8 festivals and about the same amount of kind of off-date club shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was great. It's a little bit different than a regular tour because when you're doing a regular tour, every day is the same. Show at the venue at, let's say, 2 o'clock, load in, sound check, have dinner, hang out, do merch, play the show, pack up. But this was a bit different because we were showing up sometimes at 10 a.m., sometimes at 4 p.m. So we had 2 days off in a row at one point. So like it's a very, every day is very different. So it was a little bit harder to get used to, but it was awesome. I mean, we played in front of some pretty big crowds. What did we do? In Brutal Assault, maybe 5,000, 6,000 people. Summer Breeze, maybe a little bit more. Just those European festivals or something else. We'd only ever played Hellfest before, just before COVID, and that was in Clisson in France, and that was 10, 12,000 people.
Oh, wow.
So being able to play in front of huge crowds almost every single day for several weeks, that's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, like I'm guessing that's a little different from the some of the small venues. Excuse me, like you've probably played in, coming up over the years to get to that.
I think that's a bit of an understatement. Yes, I mean you were mentioning earlier that you're from Saskatchewan, right?
Yes.
That's where
you're at?
Yeah. So we played in. We've talked about this a lot, so I wouldn't say famously, but I've said this before. We played one time in Edmonton to one person.
Oh shit.
We played in Penticton to 0 people once. We've done our fair share of tiny, insignificant, meaningless, probably shouldn't have played shows. So now it's pretty cool to go play for several thousand people and have a good amount of them know our music.
Yeah.
And really like singing along somehow. I don't really understand that part.
I don't get how you can do that.
It's pretty cool.
But going back to like the small venue thing, if the information on the internet is right and everything you read on the internet is correct, you guys, it might have been like a long time ago, played at a bar in Saskatoon. I think it was called the Rock Bottom at the time. Like in August 28th of 2013.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That sounds perfect.
So I played that stage myself with a couple of my bands. I just like the load in for that stage was like the worst thing ever because like the stairs were like straight up and down. It was just disgusting. It's gone now, so you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Okay. My nightmares will be. I won't have nightmares about the place anymore. It's gone. It can't hurt us anymore. The thing about those shows. Yeah, man, I had something. I had some awesome thing I was about to say, and then I started thinking about all the horrific shows that we played to know people flash before my brain, and it just absolutely ruined my train of thought. So
that's that PTSD coming back. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some newer stuff. So you guys just released the new video for Bleed the Future a couple weeks ago. I've probably watched it a dozen times now.
Awesome!
There's a lot of interesting scenes in that. How did the idea for this come up? Where in the depths of your mind did this the whole concept of this as a band, like where did this come from?
Well, we did a music video for a song called Drone Corpse Aviator a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And we had a great time, and we have a lot of contacts in the Vancouver practical effects kind of industry because they call Vancouver Hollywood North. So we've got a lot of people here that we know that do filming, they do practical effects, some visual effects. We know a few stunt people. So when we did that video, we were looking at it, we're like, man, this is really fun. And I don't know, having practical effects in a video really just hits a certain something with it resonates in a certain way with all of us. We're all, kids of the 80s. So we all grew up watching The Thing, The Fly, Cronenberg movies. Like, I mean, we just love we love 80s, 90s horror, and we wanted to sort of create something that was a combination of the new sound of like extreme death metal with some kind of older practical effects and really utilize that. So when we did that video, we said, we got to do something else. We got to up the budget. We got to up the concept and all that kind of stuff. So we've come to realize that the most important thing out of anything when doing something creative, it's the concept. And if you don't have a good concept, it's just going to suck. The thing is going to suck. Yeah. So we can't just throw money at nothing. We have to have a good basis of something. So Ollie and I we were on tour at the end of in the middle of 2022, I guess spring 2022. And we were in the van and we're talking, it would be cool to do a music video where, and lyrically there's this idea that there's this black liquid and it has something to do with a Japanese cult, and it's all kind of built into the lyrical kind of stuff. And if you want to spend time researching it, you can. I'm not really an expert about it, but anyway, so there's this black liquid inside the lyrics, and Ollie was like, wouldn't it be cool if we were like black liquid, like drip dealers, where we were like almost these characters that were giving people at a bar like this liquid, and it changed who they were and mutated them and stuff. Yeah. So that was a year and a half ago almost. Yeah. And the video just came out. So that's how long the concept really kind of sat, and the pre-production took, and the editing. Like, it was a long process. So we came up with this really core idea, and then Ollie just kind of ran with it. Our vocalist, Ollie. Yeah. He took this project as like his like soul lot in life. Like, that's all he did for many, many months. His apartment was turned into a effects studio. It was pretty crazy. The idea kind of morphed from us being these dealers to more like we were at the bar of this club that, and we had just won this Canadian award, basically like a Canadian Grammy equivalent called the Juno, and it has gone to our heads at this point. And so now we're just pieces of shit, basically. Yeah. And so the bar is serving up everybody this black liquid that causes them to mutate, and we're there. We're almost just like extras. We're not really even involved too much in the story. And then our main character, a really awesome actress named Brenna, she takes this whole scene in and realizes something's going wrong, and she tries to escape, goes to the basement. There's this crazy cult thing going on. She gets doused with this black liquid. She turns into this huge prosthetic monster that we, our Ollie's partner Nerida and Ollie's brother Aaron and their friend Clark, they're basically the effects team for the video, and they spent many, many months sculpting, molding, casting, painting this huge 5-tentacle full body prosthetic animatronic head suit, and so she turns into that and just wreaks havoc in the club, and subsequently murders all of us in disgusting ways. So disgusting, in fact, that YouTube has age restricted the video, and now not very many people have seen it. So we're trying to work on something to fix that.
So there's going to be like an edited version, maybe for.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah. We spent so much time. I have 2 terabytes of behind the scenes footage alone. Yeah. I mean, it's like we put in a year or more of work into this video, and we just love it so much, and we want to make sure that people see it, so that they can also sort of absorb the passion that was kind of put into it, because I think it deserves something. We're very proud of it.
100%. I agree. Like I said, I enjoy it. Like, it's, they'll get home from the bar some nights and put it on just for a laugh. It reminds me, like, really of like The Thing from like 1982. It like the vibe of it, like huge inspiration. So, but there's another part of that too. It's like you guys did a Kickstarter for it.
Yes, we had a surprisingly successful Kickstarter. We set our goal initially at $20,000 US so that we could cover some costs, and we ended up raising about 83,000 Canadian. Yeah. And then we haven't heard too much about this. We're honestly just very proud of it. For anybody listening to that, they go, why would anybody raise that much money? We spent more than that on the video. I mean, the video reached about $100,000 Canadian budget. I mean, we didn't make any money from this video.
Yeah.
We are in debt.
So now you got to go tour Europe and Australia again.
Well, yeah. So yeah, this year we just came back from Europe. We're gonna go do what do we have? We have another couple runs for the rest of this year. We have 4 shows in Japan. We have 6 shows in Australia, and then we have 2 shows in the U.S. supporting Periphery in November.
Oh, tight. Yeah, that'd be a good show.
Yeah. We're looking forward to it. I mean, I've known those guys for a while now. Buddies with Misha.
Yeah.
And it's been a while that I'm like, it'd be cool to play together because I feel like those guys have kind of similar sense of humor. It's nice to hang out with musicians that you kind of vibe with.
Yeah.
And that's kind of number one. Musically is important, but honestly, finding a band to play a show with or tour with or whatever, it's kind of important that you gel with them backstage. I think that's kind of more often than not the most important thing.
Yeah, if you're spending time like on the road with these people too, it's probably you need that mesh. To touch back on the Kickstarter, actually, the name of my podcast is in the credits for that because we did.
Oh, very good. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's I actually got the email this morning about the extra stuff that we can start seeing. So I'm looking forward to going through that over the next couple days here.
I edited and filmed all that stuff, so I'll be putting more of those up as well. So
Perfect.
yeah, hopefully you like them.
Perfect. Where's the tour with Periphery going?
It's really just 2 dates. We're doing a show. I don't quote me on the exact dates, but it's early November and then mid-November. It's just 2 shows.
Yeah.
One is in at the Anaheim Convention Center and just outside LA, and then the other one is in Worcester, Massachusetts, at the Palladium. Both places we played before, but yeah, it's part of a kind of a bigger package. Pliny is playing. A couple other bands. What's important is that they're quite big venues, and they made it so that the tour is bookended by sort of more of a festival. So the first and last date of the tour, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I'm aware, are these two shows, and they're kind of like the biggest when it comes to the lineup. So they flew in a few bands to sort of make the start and end of the tour a little bit more of an event, and I'm really looking forward to it.
That sounds. It's kind of opposite ends of the country, but I mean, I guess it doesn't really.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fly-in stuff for us.
Yeah.
We'll fly in on the 4th. First show's on the 4th, and the second show's on the 17th. I can't remember. Something like that.
It's all good. If you want to find out more information, you can check out their Facebook page because I'm sure it's there. Yes. You guys are obviously a Canadian band. You know, like it's pretty well known.
Hell yeah,
now.
brother.
Well, yeah, is there any bands from Canada that you would want to like collaborate with or work with in some facet?
Collaboration wise, there's some bands that we've toured with that we love. We love Despised Icon. They're from Quebec. We toured with them across Europe in 2017, and those guys are very sweet men. Plenty of awesome bands out of Quebec. There's some decent bands out of Vancouver. It's just more often than not, it's the extreme kind of death metal stuff doesn't really come out of the West Coast. It's more out of the kind of Quebec, mostly Montreal kind of areas. I don't really know why that is.
Do you think maybe they're just that much angrier out there?
I don't know. I mean, they definitely don't seem angry, but you're right. I don't know. There's some sort of something that comes through the music, but maybe it's something to do with the avant-garde kind of mentality of it. I think that's kind of it.
We
obviously draw a lot of inspiration from Quebec bands as well. The guys in the band are big fans of Cryptopsy, obviously Despised Icon, Gorguts, Martyr, Beneath the Massacre. We did a tour with them just before COVID, and that's a huge inspiration band for us.
Yeah.
So plenty of bands from Quebec. There are some great bands from the West Coast as well that are doing awesome things. Obviously, Spirit Box is crushing it. Brand of Sacrifice from Ontario as well. But there's a Vancouver band called Atrabilis that's very good as well. They're not necessarily newer, but they're just more they're a bit more underground at this point. But great bands from Canada. As far as like collaboration, we haven't really thought about doing a collaboration musically with anybody. We work with a producer out of Denver, Colorado named Dave Otero, who we love very, very much, and he worked on some of our favorite albums. He did Monolith of Inhumanity by Cattle Decapitation. He did a bunch of Cephalic Carnage back in the day. He's done great, awesome work. And so that's kind of like our go-to guy. If he didn't exist, if that was not an option, then we probably would stick in Canada. We might go to somebody in the East Coast. But yeah, as far as just bands that we love, I mean, I love touring and hanging out and recognizing other Canadian bands, because I think it's important to I don't know, just to understand that this is not the easiest place to start a band. Now, that's not to say that the government doesn't give you at a certain level some assistance, which other countries do not afford the residents. So in the U.S., they don't have any sort of musical grant program that I'm aware of. Or in Canada, there's the Factor grants, which has been enormously helpful for us. But just regionally and like geographically, it's very tough in Vancouver to be a starting death metal band. So you have a band that is already at a disadvantage for listenership, for audience size. And the only option that you really have without forking over a ton of money is to tour Canada. And we're not really in the biggest population center here. Vancouver has lots of people. There's a couple of cities around here. But once you get outside of Alberta, you're just in some pretty small areas, and it's very difficult to get from one side to the other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that being said, when you're from, when you start in Montreal, when you start in Toronto, you have a lot more population center to sort of take advantage of. Because the alternative here is in Vancouver, because we're so close to the border, you would think, oh, let's go to the States. We'll go tour America. There's tons of people there, 10 times the population. But the barrier to entry there is at least a few $1,000s and a ton of paperwork to have work visas set up. And it's just not something that's very easily done by most bands, and it's a very daunting kind of task. So it is important. I think it's very awesome to recognize, like, as a Canadian band, it is kind of tough to kind of get going. And so I think sticking with each other and making sure that other Canadian bands sort of recognize is really important.
Yeah. And like, let's be honest too. Like, even like logistics. Say if you're doing a cross Canada tour, I mean, like, we're not talking like an hour down the road to the next gig. Like, sometimes it's 8, 10, 12 hours. Like, yeah. I can't imagine, actually.
The one band that springs to mind that is at even more of a disadvantage that somehow pushed through is the band Psychroptic, and they're from Tasmania. So they're from this town called Hobart in Tasmania, and that is unreal to me that they ever managed to do anything. You start in a tiny, tiny town, and the only way for you to play any shows is to either play a show in your hometown or to fly to Australia, and that's to mainland Australia. And it's just like like I said, the barrier to entry, or like the initial startup cost, is insane. Not to mention, you don't have much in terms of mentorship or in terms of finding someone to kind of give you the first steps. So we have plenty of friends here in Vancouver that had been in bands before. We had all been in bands, toured at least a little bit, and you can talk to some people and learn what other people did, and it's really great to do that in person, especially when in 2009 when our band started. We weren't. I had a BlackBerry. But everything wasn't quite as connected as it is now. So it was a little bit more important to get that kind of face-to-face time with somebody who was experienced. And bands that were coming out of Vancouver at the time, 3 Inches of Blood. There were definitely some bands, Strapping and Lad, definitely some bands out of Vancouver that did great work. But if you're thinking about being in Tasmania, I don't think you're going to find very much.
Yeah, like that's in the middle of nowhere. Like, Saskatchewan's in the middle of nowhere, but that's really like
yeah. I mean, we've driven through. I think we've done 6 or 7 cross Canada tours, maybe more. I mean, we've done I think more. I think we've driven across Canada many more times than that. Yeah. It's hard to kind of remember, but I think what's been important for us is developing our Canadian fan base, and I think people really recognize, hey, that's a Canadian band. You get a sense of pride, and I think it's important to not forget that. Especially when I'm talking to bands that are newer, that they say, we just want to go to the States. We want to go to the States. Yep. that is cool. Going through America is great. There's a lot of upside to it. There's a lot more people there, but there's a lot more bands, and there are some downsides in not only financially but just also it's just they're both tough roads. But as a new band, I definitely always suggest going across Canada, as dismal as those drives look on Google Maps.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know from like a fan's perspective, I want to say that it's like I definitely take more ownership with a band that I identify as Canadian, 100%. Like
Yeah.
I like you guys, like I'm a big like Misery Signals fan and Alexis on Fire. Like I support these bands because of where they came from.
Right.
Like it just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I mean, we all. I mean, if you're in your 30s or older, you probably grew up watching Much Loud on Much Music, and that introduced all of us to all the bands that we love now. I think that and Napster, LimeWire, or whatever. We all kind of came from the same kind of places.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that when you see a band succeeding or doing anything. You're like, oh yeah, hey, we grew up doing the same thing.
Yeah. I'm actually just a little bit older than you, and I can do one earlier than you. I remember watching Headbangers Ball on MTV in the early 90s.
Right.
And that was wild back in the day. Like the early Pantera, like when they were like first getting big. Yeah, it was nuts. Is there any place in Canada that you want to play yet? Or like is there like other cities like out of the way like that you want to go to? Say maybe not even Canada. Where's a big spot that you guys want to get to next, or eventually, I guess.
We kind of, I don't know. Like my favorite place we've ever played is Japan, and it's such a cool experience to go over there. We got some offers to do China. We've had some offers to do South Africa. A few years ago, we did Tel Aviv.
Oh wow!
So we got to go to the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem and stuff like that. Yeah. We've seen a lot of things. I love playing music for different people in the world. I think it's really cool, and it's amazing to say that it's my job.
Yeah.
But I've never really been much of a travel person. I like to travel, but I also like to eat all the things that I like to eat at home.
Yep.
And recently, my wife and I just got back from tour, and she was also traveling through Europe at the same time as us. So we flew back in the same day, and the first thing that we did when we got back was go to our favorite breakfast place, get the coffee that we like, like all the stuff that we like to do.
Yeah,
those are the things that we like, and there's a reason why we like them. And I'm not saying that I dislike travel, but
there's something to be said about being at home.
It's just travel is for me, it's a side effect of the job rather than the main draw. It's definitely broadened my horizons in my life, and I understand more about kind of the world now that I've traveled. But the way that you travel in a band is not the same as you would when you're just being a tourist. You don't see the same things. That's not to say you don't see interesting or valuable or important things, because you definitely do, but you see a different side of it. You don't see the touristy areas. You see the inside of venues. You talk to people that live there rather than going to heavily English speaking areas. It's just a very different experience. And when you do anything for work, it sort of changes your perspective of it.
Yeah.
And as much as I love it, it's just I don't really know where else we would go that I have like as a prime location for me. Like I can't wait to get there.
Yeah.
Although I mean, we would obviously love to play South America. And I think more often than not, it's just the fans that we would love to go see. South American fans are amazing. We'd love to go to South Africa. We'd love to play a show in Hawaii. I mean, there's some places that don't necessarily always get this style of music, and we can tell that they're excited if and when it comes to them. So yeah, it's more just like, who would I want to go see? And there's plenty of places. It's pretty much anywhere that likes my band for whatever reason. I will love to go play music for them, because that's insane that anyone even gives a shit.
It's got to be a head trip, you know. You like to be in that position. I mean, not like I would never understand it, you know. Like just to be like to have that feeling that like these thousands of people are there to see you do the dumb shit you guys do on stage sometimes.
It's very hard to keep perspective and keep grounded there because you just recently we were in Europe and you play 3 or 4 shows in a row to 4,000 to 6,000 people, and it becomes the norm so quickly. Within 2 shows, you're like, all right, that's the norm now, and it's just bizarre how your brain does that.
Yeah,
and I think it's impossible for most people to sort of turn that part of their brain off. You just immediately get desensitized to it, and it's yeah, I mean, it's a trip because you come back and you're like, damn, what did I just do? That was nuts. Most people, I mean, the other day I was asking the guys in my band, how many full-time death metal musicians do we think that there actually are in the world? I mean,
there can't be that many.
500 people? Like who, like 1,000? Who does this? So, I mean, we're so grateful, and that's why we always make sure if there's somebody that's a fan of our band, I want to say hi. Like I want them to like come up and say hi, because it's like incredible that, like I said, anyone even gives a shit.
Yeah.
Because we write this music in we wrote all of our music so far in a dingy, disgusting jam spot where we were just like, all right, let's just write something and get the fuck out of here because this place sucks. And then, and then we get to go travel the world while playing it. It makes no sense to me sometimes.
Yeah. So, like, going back to that, like, getting desensitized by the large crowds, is that kind of why you guys started doing, like the weird stuff on stage? Like, I saw the video the other week that you reposted of the Twister game that happened and turned into a wall of death. Like, is that kind of what you guys are thinking backstage, like, with, like, keeping it fresh or new, I guess is a better way to put it?
Here's what we do. We sit backstage and we hang out and we play cards or whatever, we mess around. And if we come up with a cool joke, something that makes us laugh, and if it fits into the live show, we go, we should do that because it made us laugh and it's going to make them laugh. Yeah. And even if it doesn't make people laugh, but it still makes us laugh, we're still going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of genuine kind of thing comes across because this is just something we like to do. So we were sitting in a hotel room at the beginning of our last European headliner tour back in spring. And before the tour started, our vocalist said, yeah, it'd be funny, something about Twister Matt, something. Or like, man, that'd be kind of funny if we did Twister on stage. Or maybe like in the audience. We're like workshopping it as we're talking about it. So we went and picked up a Twister Matt and we put a new spot in our set. So we run the entire set on a laptop, and it's just basically one continuous clip that plays our backing tracks or plays our click tracks or whatever samples. And so we decided, okay, we're going to take this interlude that we had that was a musical interlude out. We're going to put in this funny kind of dumb song, and you're going to throw Twister Matt in the audience and have people play Twister, and then when they least expect it, just have everybody else do a wall of death. Because, you set up sort of this false sense of security, false sense of, hey, everything's all goofy, and then we go into a very extreme kind of heavy song immediately.
Yeah.
And it worked really well the first show, and we've gotten we're so fucking stupid. We spent a stupid amount of money on getting custom Twister Mats made recently that have the Archspire logo that are 4 times the size of regular Twister Mats. And it's so stupid that we got those printed because I think to get them shipped, I think was $500. Like, why? At one point we were like, what are we doing? Why are we doing, I could pay my rent a lot easier if I didn't have to spend this money on these stupid mats. And, because we wanted bigger ones for the festivals.
Yeah.
We got it. There's going to be 5,000 people watching. We got to have a bigger Twister mat.
Well, yeah.
So, it's really dumb, but that kind of stuff it just kind of comes up naturally. Recently, we were talking backstage before, I think probably about a half hour before a show, and Ollie and I were talking about something, and he was like, I got these contact lenses, and we got to talking about how it would be funny if he dropped a contact lens on stage and then bent over and his ass showed to thousands of people. and he's like, I'm going to do that right now. And so okay, so we timed it out, made sure that it kind of made sense, figured out the best spot in the set for it, and did it make lots of people laugh? Not really, I guess. What's more important? It made us laugh.
I laughed when I saw it on Instagram the other day. The guy thought it fucking hilarious. I mean, like anything to get a cheap laugh at, but I mean, I'm easy to make, like, easy to please, I guess. But
It's the idea that we have behind the band is we want the music to be extremely fast. We want to take all elements of the music extremely seriously. We want to spend all of our time doing that. But everything other than that, up to the stuff that we say between the songs, the music that plays before or after the set, our social media presence, everything else should be dumb. Everything should be like a party. So our shows should be like, come to our party because it's going to be the most fun party that you're going to go to all week. We're not going to blast death metal between bands. We want to make sure that you come and hang out and listen to fun things. And if you don't even like the music, you'll have fun. And we recognize that. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, that most of the people that were watching us at these larger European festivals, I would wager, don't even like or care about our band. They were probably just watching because it was a spectacle and they thought it was funny.
yeah,
And that's totally fine by me. You know, we want to make sure that it's a fun environment because the idea of taking ourselves seriously as a death metal band doesn't really resonate with us. The thing that we're doing is really ridiculous and stupid, so everything else should also reflect that.
yeah. I think the days of like the super hardcore bands where, you know, they have that presence, I think that's kind of over. And I think
I don't know, man. There's a band called Sleep Token, man. They're crushing right now, and Sleep Token is 100% all mystique. Like you can definitely tell that the vibe of the band is it's a mystery of who they are and what they're doing. It's not a fun party time. It is I don't know. It's something maybe maybe more serious, maybe more personal, maybe, you know, there's no emotional lyrics that we have as a band that I think resonate with people. I think with a band like that, or a band like Spirit Box, or a band like Lorna Shore, they have personal, meaningful, relatable lyrics and concepts and ideas, and those bands are very successful doing the opposite route, taking the opposite route.
Yeah.
So rather than playing Twister on stage, they are saying meaningful, personally resonant things that are maybe important, and people that also works. And what's great about it is that both sides of it work. You have a vocalist like Okay, here, take this for example. We have Matt Heafy from Trivium, who is on Twitch every single day. He exposes his entire life to the audience, and it works very, very well for him. Versus somebody like Maynard from Tool, who is, when I saw them when I was a kid, he was a silhouette on stage, and you barely had any interviews from him.
Yeah.
So like, there's two sides of it, and they can both work really, really well. It just has to come from an important, or like has to come from a genuine place inside of you. And if the place that it's coming from is genuine, and you refine it, and you make sure that your sort of message or the thing that you want conveyed is clearly laid out, I think it's going to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Thank you. That's about all I can say. Everything else, that's the only, my brain. Okay, now my brain doesn't work anymore.
Okay, it's just shut off. Okay, let's get into some more dumb stuff then. What were your personal influences like? I remember like me growing up, like everybody heard Metallica and that shit, you know, in the early 90s, like we were talking about before. What got you into like the way heavier side of stuff? Like I know like my stepping stool into more heavier stuff was a band Fear Factory, and then, you know, it kind of just like exploded from there. Do you have that same sort of roadmap, I guess, from
kind of? Well, the guys in my band all went from, well, everybody except for Jared. So Spencer, Ollie, and Toby, the other three dudes that started the band with me, they all came from extreme death metal. So they came from Cryptopsy. Yeah. So they listened to, like you said, Fear Factory or something like that, and then they went to Cryptopsy. I didn't go that route. I went from I listened to Tool, and then I listened to Dream Theater, and then I listened to Opeth, and then I listened to Necrophagist. Yeah. So that was kind of like the path that I took. It was more from like the melodic side rather than from the extreme side. Yeah. And I think that both paths are really both paths are valid, but you get a different view of the genre from either one. So from the cryptopsy path, from coming at it from more extreme stuff like that, you get the aggression, and that's a big part of our music.
Yeah.
Whereas the path that I took, you get the melody that we have in our music. So they're both extremely important, and I think that to have a successful band that appeals to a large amount of people, you need to have both. You need to have the back and forth. You need to have the good and the bad. You need to have the harsh and the melodic to really make it diverse enough to be palatable.
Yep.
At least in our genre. But yeah, both are totally valid paths. I loved Dream Theater for a long time. I still do.
Yeah.
But when that was my favorite. Tool was my favorite band. That was Dream Theater was my favorite band. That was Opeth was my favorite band. And then from there, I just discovered more intensely virtuosic guitar playing. And pretty much when I was 17 or 18, I started listening to Necrophagist and the Faceless and all that kind of stuff. And I said, hey, this is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I went.
Yeah, it's funny. I said I was going to get into more dumb stuff, and then I immediately ask you like another deep question. So again, that's the way my brain's working. We'll start wrapping things up here. Well, one thing I wanted to ask is Ollie's cooking show coming back on YouTube?
Oh man, we just decided, him and I, because I edit and film all that stuff, and we just decided recently on tour that we want to bring it back, and we've had such a fun time filming it. It's just, I mean, we're a self-managed band.
Yeah.
And, out of the 6 or 7 months of this year, we've toured 3 already.
Yeah.
So we're self-managed. We tour a decent amount. We're writing music. I also have my own YouTube channel, and we want to do another. It's so much work. I really, really want to get back into it. And we made some plans to do some new episodes. So yeah, I think that's coming back.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the one full length you guys did. That was great. I also like your 4 levels of metal with your wife. Those videos are great.
Thanks.
Yeah, been kind of binge watching that, just trying to get my head space wrapped around this interview. But
yeah, we're gonna film a bunch more of those as well. Again, they just take so long to edit.
Yeah.
Because I want all the dumb jokes that I have in my head to land. So, we have. And plus, I get more and more into the production side of it and trying to make it sound better and every time. And it just takes longer and longer. I get faster at editing, but then I add some new element of it that I want to make perfect. So it just takes a while.
Yeah, I don't do any of the editing for my channel. My co-host does it. I can't. I am too dumb for that shit. So
it's become like my first kind of like creative passion was music.
Yeah.
And my second is video and editing, and I love that stuff. I love it just as much as I love music. It's so much fun. It's so rewarding and fulfilling.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're on some days off now and just got home. What's your typical day off in Vancouver? This will be like one of the last dumb questions I asked.
I don't know. I mean, like we're a full-time band, so when I get home, sometimes I can just. You would think that you could just take I'll just take all the time off and hang. I just can't really do that. So I need to fill my day with something. Yeah. So we got to, I got to keep pushing, and I took a really good advice from a buddy of mine who runs a decently successful band and also is very good on the business side of music. And he was like, what I do is I get up early and I just think about ideas of what I could do to make money. I'm like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily just think about ways I can make money, but I definitely sit and try to come up with, I'll go for a walk every day and I'll try to come up with ideas on what I could do to expand the stuff that I have, or new ideas on what we could do for videos or whatever. Luckily, not having a regular full-time job when I'm at home allows me the time to be able to do that. But I also play a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 right now, so I'm doing that also. Playing a lot of video games right now. It's probably fine. I think it's fine for me to do that sometimes. You need to give your brain both sides of it, because sometimes you get too much into video editing or whatever that you just like need to do. You need to do the other stuff too. And playing video games is just something that I like doing sometimes. Not even most of the time, just sometimes. And you got to let yourself do it.
Yeah. I think you need that dumb recharge.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a recharge. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing I usually ask my guests when they come on is like, what are you listening to right now? So what I have, it's called the Found Signals playlist. It's on Spotify. It's like got 150 songs on it. Normally, like an artist like you, I would get you to add some of your own songs, but we have like 3 or 4 of your songs on that playlist.
Oh, okay.
Already. So, give me like just off the top of your head, like what's something that you would like? Say you're driving around downtown Vancouver, like what would you be listening to?
I love the band Igor. So their new album, the most recent album, Spirituality and Distortion, I think is what it's called. It's so awesome. Spirituality and Distortion, yeah. Anything off of that album is unreal. Recently, also, we had somebody come backstage at a show in Germany, and he came with his son, and they were very big fans of the band. And I started speaking to the dad, and he's like, "Oh, I play lute," and I'm like, "Oh my god, how many strings does your lute have?" And he says 24. I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." And so he showed me his Spotify and his. I don't think you want this on the Spotify playlist, but his name is Joachim Held, and he does Renaissance lute music and Baroque lute music. It's incredible. So that's kind of what I want to listen to the most right now.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
I know, like I'll add that on there. Like, there's so much weird shit on that playlist. Like, it's from you guys to like some weird like '80s synth pop shit. Like, it's all over the place. So
yeah. I love some old music, some old Baroque lute playing is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, thanks a lot, Dean. It's been okay. Like anything you want to plug before you like take off here?
No, we have just some shows coming up, Japan, Australia, and a few shows in the States. We're going to be writing a new album over the next year or year and a half or something like that. Yep. So we're going to try to keep doing that, and then I have my YouTube channel with my wife.
Perfect. I'll put links to your YouTube channel all over mine, and we'll go from there.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, man.
All right.
Been episode 51 of Lost Signals. I'm Daryl. It's Mr. Dean Lamb, and we're out of here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.